guys, how's everybody doing today? So this is Mrs. Engel Art Lessons, and what we're going to look at today is using super simple shapes to draw some houses and some stores. That's this lesson today. After you've practiced drawing some super simple houses and stores, then you're going to put them together in the next lesson to make a little community. And then finally you can make a construction paper house. And here we've got the exterior done, and we still have to work on making the interior of the house. Okay, so when we are looking at the houses that we're going to do, what I want you to do is recognize the real simple basic shapes. We've got triangles, squares, rectangles, and half circles. And with those shapes, we basically can make all these different types of houses or stores. I should mention this lesson is geared mostly for kindergarten through 5th graders. And so for my younger students, you can just sort of stick with the simple shapes. Older students, have fun adding details and see if you can make it a little bit more elaborate with some of the more intricate details. So we will start with this one up in the corner. If we're looking at this one, notice how we have a triangle roof, whereas this one, it's like that triangle has the top cut off. It's a flatter surface, and in fact, this is called a trapezoid. So when I'm drawing, I often start with whisper lines, just sort of lightly sketching out some lines. So I'm going to draw 2 lines that are parallel running alongside each other, but the bottom one is a little bit longer. So as I sketch in the sides, those 2 sides would eventually intersect. So I've got a trapezoid there. Next, I'm going to draw a rectangle just with 2 lines coming down. And what I can do is, if this is a 2-story building, I'm going to have 2 squares for the windows, and maybe a longer rectangle here for a window down here. And then a rectangle that meets up with the base of the house, and that could be the door, with a little circle there to show that it's a door. All right, to give this a little bit of interest and make it a little more detailed, I'm going to add a half circle on the top of each one. And this is going to make it look like it's got a little awning on top. And so I can actually do that above the door too. And when I'm adding stripes, what I like to do is I do a middle stripe going straight up and down. And then alongside the others, I've got this curve line that's not quite as curved as the edge of that half circle, but it's not going up and down either. And then same thing on the other side, it's going to curve the other way. Then it makes it look like it is rounded. And I want to sketch and make these nice and even. Okay. If I want to add more details, I can add some little rectangles at the bottom of each of the windows. And notice how those rectangles, I have them going past those windows a little bit. I could even go back and add some tiny little flowers. All I'm doing is making little squiggle lines. And then that makes it look like the suggestion of a flower or some bushes. All right, then I can go back with a little cross on the inside of each, and now it's starting to look like a window. For the door, I'm just going to make a little tiny square and go in with a cross. All right, and then also I'm going to add some steps down here just with a little rectangle and then a little bit wider rectangle. And same thing, if you want to go in and add bushes or trees next to it, that's always fun too. So the last detail that I'm going to add is some half circles here, kind of strung together, where I'm just, or almost like waves, super simple waves of an ocean. I've just strung together some half circles, and now the next line of half circles, I'm going to have them off center. So notice how they come to a peak in the middle of the half circle and on top of it. And that way they look like they're layered. And I'm just going to do that all the way across. And it's going to give the suggestion of some shingles. Okay. And if you want to add a thicker line on the bottom here, you can, to make it look a little bit more finished. All right. I can also add a chimney at the side here with a rectangle and a tiny rectangle on top. Okay, so that's a super simple house. If I want to do the same kind of house, another thing I could do, I could do the same roof, but I could vary. Maybe this time I would only have one window. Maybe I would have a line going straight across, showing some of this little support beams with tiny little squares underneath. Okay. Maybe this would have just one window, and maybe it would be a rounded door. And maybe inside of each of the windows, you would have some curtains that you could see. Okay? It's up to you how you want to decorate your house, but you can have fun just using these very simple shapes. And you can use your imagination. It doesn't have to be totally realistic to make it your own. All right, now I'm going to show you another kind of house. Here we can start off with that A-frame roof as if we're going to make a triangle. I've got the bottom line really light because I don't need that. I'm going to have two lines coming straight down. So this looks like a little mini house. But what I'm going to do is have a line going. I'm starting down just a little bit from the point of that A-frame, and I'm just going to make a line going straight across on either side. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing just underneath where that where the triangle ends. I'm going to have a line going straight across in either direction. Notice how I made the bottom a little bit longer, and that way, when I connect it to the top, it's made this long trapezoid shape back there. Okay, now I can just draw some lines going straight up and down like this. Oh, I've got this coming down a little bit too high, so I'm going to add a little bit of length to these lines. There we go. All right, I'm going to have a step here. And now, can you see where that makes a house? And maybe there's a nice window right up here. And just the door right here. Could have a big old bay window here, taking up most of that area. And maybe we have the same, those half circles going all the way across just to dress it up a little bit. And then a little square window over here. And then I could have fun just drawing some little simple lines going all the way across. And what I like to do is line them up. So I'm going to draw my line over, pick up my pencil, and then finish off on the other side so that those lines look like they're connected. And then that way it gives the illusion that this part of the house is set in front. Okay? All right, make a little chimney on top. There we go. Very simple. Another type of home. For my older students, you can always go back and add double lines all the way around and get creative with, if you make some curtains, maybe they've got a little floral pattern, or maybe you've got flower pots on the side. All right, next I'm going to show you how you can make a very simple store, starting with just a rectangle. And we're not even going to do a roof on this one. We're just going to have it be this rectangle shape. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a very thin rectangle that goes along the inside there, and that will be the sign. And this is where it's fun to decide. I can make this a hardware store, a pet store, a bakery, any kind of store you can think of, and then you can make the details in the window, which are super fun. All right, now I'm just going to add the door first. And with the rest of this space, I'm going to add a nice size window, but I'm also going to add a little awning. And so I'm going to start with this long trapezoid like we've done before for the roof. But this time underneath the trapezoid, I'm just going to bring those little half circles all the way across like this. And at the tip of each half circle, I'm going to bring it up to the other side or the top of the awning there. And you can see where now all of a sudden it looks like those could be filled in as stripes. I should mention too, so today all I'm going to do is demonstrate how to make these simple shape houses and stores. What I did when I was finished is I went over in black ink or just with a black marker. You guys can use watercolor, crayons, markers, whatever you want to finish them up. All right, so I'm going to make this a bakery. So I'm just going to neatly print the word bakery all the way across. And now I can even make a cake just using a rectangle, filling that in. I'm going to put a little circle on top like the cherry. And now I'm just making this tiny little rectangle. So it looks like the plate. And you can just see that the plate is in the window there holding this cake. Okay, I might have 3 tiers of something, and I just drew 3 little lines that are at a tiny little curve, and they get smaller the higher I go. Well, now, depending on how sharp my pencil is and how much I can get in there, I could draw some cupcakes there. You can have fun adding whatever, and even sometimes just putting a simple shape. We can use our imagination of what that is sitting in the bakery window. Okay, so basically here is a super easy way to make a store. In the next lesson, what I'm going to have you do is practice some of these houses that we've drawn, as well as coming up with a couple of stores. And I'm going to have you draw them side by side so you end up with a little community. And here, when you're all done drawing them, you can go over it in black, either using a thin black marker or you can use a Sharpie. And then that way you can fill it in later with either crayon, marker, watercolor. I caution you though, if you do decide to go over it in watercolor, use a permanent marker like a Sharpie, because otherwise it's going to bleed when you add the watercolor to it. Okay, I'll see you soon at the next lesson. Bye-bye.